This is the Instant Speed Podcast, episode number 41, brought to you by FAB Cards. FAB Cards is the place to go for Flesh and Blood and all your other trading card needs. Get all the tools you need to navigate the world of Wraith, shipped directly to your door. Go to www.kfabcards.com. That's www.kayfabecards.com. Our guest today is Matt Rogers, but before we get to Mr. Matt Rogers, we've got the facts for you, and we're going to start with the new Armory kits. Were basically showed to the world, and the new Armory kits are going to feature two new playmats. That would be the Uprising playmat, which not so new, but the Rake the Embers playmat looks really nice. We also have the Cold Foil Storm of Sandakai is the next one, the next beautiful weapon that you can score in Cold Foil, as well as Extended Art Red Hot promos, which will be given out to all kinds of wonderful people. Now, the skirmish season is happening, and that begins on July 30th through the 21st. The modes will be Blitz or Sealed. So choose your poison. I know a lot of people are loving Sealed, but Blitz is kind of, it's an acquired taste, we'll say. And I want to invite everyone out there who is not already part of the Instant Speed Podcast Discord. There's all kinds of great things going on in there, including wellness challenge, some support, games, a tournament that we have running constantly, as well as all kinds of just great community moments. And thank you again to all our Patreon members. As always, it is so vital to have your support in any which way, but for our Patreon members who put their money where their mouth is, thank you guys very much. It helps us so much to keep the lights on. And when I say keep the lights on, that means things like paying for server space, things like paying for all the other expenses associated, production value, editing, things like that. That does get a lot of boost from our patrons. So as little as $1 a month, you can give me a pat on the back and say, Flake, we like what you do. Thank you so much. Our guest, like I said, for episode number 41 is Matt Rogers. He's got some news, some leaks, some spoilers, all kinds of great stuff, as well as some meta chat. Let's catch up with Matt. So TCGPlayer sent me one of these bundles that we were talking about over several weeks. This is the LSS TCG Uprising bundle, which gets some cool stuff. So I just wanted to pop it open and see what you get in it so that you guys can also see maybe this tickles your fancy or maybe it doesn't. So what do we get? Well, we get this bad boy, which is a wonderful collector bundle, kind of a little bit of a checklist, like what does it include? That's pretty rad. And how about this? This is a card checklist for the entire set. You get everything, what it comes with. Does it come in cold foil, extended art, etc., etc., etc. No surprises. What else is in here? Exclusive promo card awaits, because that was part of it as well. We'll talk about that. And then in the box, what you can see is kind of packed, almost like real dragon eggs were in here. Never had one. Here they're delicious. 2 boxes of Uprising, which we're going to be busting open another day. But how about everything else? This is the fun part. We have the Dracona Optimize sleeves. Those are the dragon shields as well. We have the Tumultai dragon shields as well. Beautiful, beautiful. Love the art on those. And finally, bam, Dominia. Another wonderful dragon. Fitting for Dragon Shield. So that would be it if this tickles your fancy, or if anything from TCGPlayer, be it singles or sealed product, tickles your fancy. You can use some of the links below to go ahead and support the podcast, because that's what it does. By clicking those links and making purchases, you're helping us out over here, keeping the lights on and such. So thank you so much for watching, as always. And again, if you want some of these bundles or anything from TCGPlayer, use the links below. As always, be kind. The Instant Speed Podcast is so enthused to welcome back one of the true legends of the game. He is a multiple major tournament winner, the driving force behind so many card game initiatives and companies such as PCG, which we'll talk about, actually. And trust me, there's so much more, but welcome back to the show, Matt Rogers. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Flake. How you doing, mate? Thanks so much for inviting me back on. I think, we're going to have some fun.
We are going to have some fun. Now, this was supposed to be done last week, but there was a lot of extra sort of sprinkles that were thrown your way regarding everything that you're doing, and I'm glad that we did, in fact, wait. There's no big deal, but the first thing I want to get to is your entrance into the Two Timers Club, alongside such legends as Hayden Dale and Tannen. Oh, I say legend. I mean Hayden Dale, the legend, and
Eden
then
Dale. Yeah.
yeah, and Tannen Grace somehow snuck his foot in the door. Still, it is great to have you here, my friend. First of all, there is no blazer that goes along with being in the Two Timers Club, even though you did wear one of mine one time.
Do I get a pin though? A
This
pin for my
pin?
blazer, right?
You mean this pin that I had
Yes.
ready to go? So this
I
is
don't think I'm allowed to wear that pin, am I Tarek, I got in a lot of trouble last time.
no.
For one of them, anyway.
So yeah, Tarek did give you a little bit of heck because the pin that I initially gave you to wear on the broadcast at Pro Tour in New Jersey was actually a Montreal Canadiens pin, which is this. See this logo here? That's my hockey team. That's the Montreal Canadiens. They are my all-time favorite hockey team, which are essentially like the arch rivals of Tarek's hockey team, which are the Toronto Maple Leafs. Montreal and Toronto have a legendary rivalry. So I can see why he wanted to just kind of rip it off your lapel at the time. So I gave you this one instead, which I think is good.
Yeah, the first one he literally did rip it off. Like, I mean, I finished up in the booth with you. I went outside to have a chat to Tarek, see how he's doing at the call-in, and straight away he like grabbed my jacket like aggressively and undid the pin. I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "No, you're not wearing that."
Yeah, he is definitely. I mean, I feel bad for him because his poor hockey team has lost a game 7 of the first round of the playoffs. I think like 2 or 3, possibly 4 consecutive years. Nonetheless, it's fine. It's okay because we're well past that. This pin will forever be yours whenever you need it, and it's gonna travel with me to Lille. But more importantly, there are so many big things. Like I said, this is a jam-packed episode, Matt Rogers. We're gonna get to all kinds of things like the meta, like RTN season, etc. But the big news that you definitely have some involvement with is sort of the acquisition of Channel Fireball by TCGPlayer, and you having been essentially the catalyst for PCG Premier Card Grading. It is explain to us what it used to be, what the relationship of PCG used to be to CFB, if possible, just to sort of create a foundation so people understand a little bit about what the changes will be now that TCGPlayer owns Channel Fireball.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I have anything to do with this sort of acquisition or have any knowledge of it or anything there. To be honest, I found out about the same time that the community did. But in terms of my involvement with Channel Fireball, Premier Card Grading licenses PCG to PCG USA to Channel Fireball, or were doing so in the past. So with the acquisition between TCGPlayer and Channel Fireball and everything that's happened there, it was negotiated that TCGPlayer would not be taking Premier Card Grading. So Premier Card Grading is going to be separate. They're taking the Channel Fireball brands, and the Channel Fireball brand is going to be taken off PCG, and it's going to be basically completely separate of TCGPlayer. Then they're not going to be taking the Premier Card Grading license. So that's going to stay in the US, mostly with the same people that are running it right now. In terms of the staff and everything, we're going to have plenty of involvement, and I think that the future is going to be really, really bright there.
It sounds like it, and again, at the same time where you may feel like you've been left behind, where TCGPlayer is acquiring Channel Fireball and says, "Nah, we're good. We don't need you."
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that. I mean, at a certain point, this is also an opportunity at the same time where you can kind of branch out on your own. Was PCG gunning to kind of go on their own, or was this sort of a surprise but also an opportunity at the same time?
I think it's both. Like we did not want TCGPlayer to acquire this. Ideally, we want to maintain a bit of control over PCG from head office in New Zealand, and help and assist with it. And that is what we have been doing. That's been the relationship with Channel Fireball. Is it has been, we've done this together the whole time. We've had a lot of involvement in everything from the day to day. I mean, my business partner Rob is on meetings with them 3 times a week. It is with the staff there. We're constantly traveling over there, oversee a lot of the staff stuff. Like there there is, absolute integration there. So all of the staff are staying. It's all gonna, it's all gonna be a lot of the same people, and it's just gonna be that the Channel Fireball branding is removed there.
So where is PCG headed? And we've seen presence of PCG at various different callings. They were there at the Uprising premiere event as well. Quick turnaround on card grading and such. This is something that I've really wanted to get into. If I could only open a Fabled, seriously, Matt, if I could only open a Fabled, I'm 30 boxes deep into Flesh and Blood. I have not opened a Fabled yet still. I have things that I want to have graded, but they're Star Wars cards, so I'm kind of just waiting for you to give me the green light on those. But where is PCG headed? What's sort of on the radar for, I guess, the rest of 2022 and beyond?
A lot. So I'm really excited about where PCG's headed. I think that we're really stepping up. We're growing so fast and really stepping up into some really cool things that people won't have seen from grading companies over the last 20 years. Like we're there's stepping into the future here. So our Malaysia office opens next week. We're rolling out a number of initiatives, including a few things I'll talk to you about here. We'll give you some kind of juicy spoilers here. So we're rolling out a metal label. We're rolling out what's called the FAB slab, which is a case specifically designed for Flesh and Blood players, for equipment and stuff that you start the game with. So it'll be a slab that's only slightly bigger than the card itself, so more like the snaps. If you know what a Ultra Pro snap or little snap case and stuff like that is, it's going to be similar to that, and it's going to have the label on the back. And then we're also going about to announce a very, very spicy partnership, which I think is going to really, especially as far as Flesh and Blood goes, is really going to take PCG to the next level.
Okay, so we're going to back up a little bit here because there's a lot to dig into. And this is ladies and gentlemen, this is partially why we took a week to essentially give Matt a little bit more time to confirm a lot of these things, because the timing on this, we're currently recording this on Tuesday the 19th. I think for yourself, it's Wednesday the 20th out there in New Zealand. Nonetheless, there's stuff that's happening a couple days from now, the present for us, whereas this is going to be published on the Thursday, the 21st. Some of the information might already be out there, but nonetheless, discussing this is pretty sweet because first of all, I want to talk to you about the metal sort of labeling and such like this, because you sent me a video and I want to show people and talk to us a little bit about the importance or the significance of just how cool this laser engraving thing is.
Yeah, so you new sort of more advanced technology that is really going to give a stunning pop-out look to our labels. We wanted to find a way to kind of take our labels to the next level. Obviously, BGS, if you put our slab up against theirs, I'd say that our label is cleaner and the design's nicer, but theirs kind of pops a little bit more. So we wanted to find a way to make our label really pop out, and we found that metal labels is really the way to do that. So I've got a couple of little samples here as well, but the video will show you much nicer. But basically, it's the same label that you've seen, the same design, but they are going to be laser engraved, etched onto metal.
Which is just pretty damn cool. And like you mentioned,
it is cool.
It's very cool. And again, the video that we just played shows just a little bit of that process of how it goes. And now I can't look at that and not think of the freaking Death Star. And then once again ask you, when are you going to expand? Because right now, for those who want to know, obviously they know you for Flesh and Blood, but people have been submitting more than just Flesh and Blood cards to PCG, right?
Yeah. So we've been doing, we do obviously Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Super. We've rolled out Weischwartz, Digimon, MetaZoo. We're gradually rolling out more and more games to the catalog, and absolutely we'll bring in Final Fantasy, Star Wars, Ideally, I would love to capture the entire TCG market, and I think especially at least for the standard size cards, so anything that fits in our standard cases, I envision that by next year we will try to roll out you know, 90-95% of what's out there.
That's beautiful, and I do appreciate that. Again, it's hard when you know it's because there's so much out there. There's so many
Yeah.
different little TCGs that have come and gone that have such profound places in our hearts, especially for myself. And again, Star Wars CCG is what I cut my teeth into complex card games, and having some of these cards that I just wish that I can display, that I can have that way. And the way that you've done this now with the laser engraving and just really upping the game, PCG grading, the first question I have is this going to affect the pricing on having cards graded?
No, no. The plan is not to. The plan is to incorporate it in our current pricing model. So yeah, so we're going to keep the pricing the same with these increased costs. But I think we've found a way to do it really well. So obviously we have to invest quite a lot in the equipment, in the laser equipment, but the product costs of the metal isn't major enough that it will push anything over. So we're going to keep the pricing exactly the same for PCG. Everything that you've paid so far will be the same. And when we do roll out the metal labels, the intention is to eventually roll out the metal labels for everything. Right now, the metal labels are going to be for the quad 10s and for some special cards, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about later on in this video as well, which special cards are going to get some metal labels.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit more spicy stuff, but eventually we'll roll out the metal labels to all services, all cards. And when we do that, we'll do a little upgrade service as well. So people will be able to submit their previously slabbed PCG cards to be re-slabbed with metal labels, and that upgrade service may cost $5 or something like that. We want to keep that really cheap, and we want to allow people to, kind of turn their existing labels into metal.
All right, that's sweet. I like that. Again, I'm not necessarily somebody. I'm like, for the collectors out there, I think it's a great thing. But even for somebody like myself who doesn't, like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't give two S's about whether my cards that I'm playing with are cold foil or gold foil or whatnot. Like, it doesn't, like, but that's just me. But the thing about it is that people do care about that. And even myself, if I opened, like, if I opened that first Fabled card that I've ever had and it looks good, I would probably want to invest, $25, $30, $40 to get it graded. So because it means so much to me. And so there's appeal across the board, but the collectors must love this. And I want to also just transition. First of all, side note, have you used the laser engraver on anything personal that is not that is not for the card grader? Have you used it for like a name tag or something silly, or like a doormat? I don't know.
We have actually talked about that, about doing little, like dog tags, basically little tags, and then giving them out at expos with like PCG branding and stuff. But the computer programs that are written for the laser to do what it does are quite complex. So if I turned around to, if I turned around and said, "Hey, I want you to write me a program so that I can make my cat a little tag," they're going to say no. Or they're going to say that's going to cost you far. That's going to cost the company far too much for what you want.
But have they met the cat? It's a great cat. It's
hey, my cat's name is Marvel. He's awesome.
I'm just thinking that the only way to really, like, what have we done to improve Matt Rogers' presence within card games? Well, we've given him lasers. Like, we've literally just installed lasers in Matt's arsenal, which is great. But the demand for these cards, have you seen it risen? And this kind of leads me also into the release of what I just learned. And again, as a non-collector, this is all kind of stuff that I'm learning about and getting more in depth with. But something that's called a population report about what that is. Like, explain to us the demand for these cards being graded. Will you be at more events, and how does that lead into the pop report?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean the demand that we've seen has just been exceptional. It's been amazing, to be honest. We've grown so much. To be honest, we launched in America less than a year ago. It's crazy how much we've grown in this time, and now we have offices in America, in Australia, in New Zealand, and as of about tomorrow in Malaysia as well. So yeah, like it's been a wild ride, and the demand has just been exceptional. So, and I'm seeing more and more of it as well. Even when I'm playing, even around locals and stuff, people playing with PCG slabs and things that people post up online. It's just so awesome to see everywhere. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But in terms of events, obviously we did the world premiere in New Zealand. We've been doing Armageddon expos, so we've signed up for 4 expos. We're doing the big Cancer Society Battle Hardened. We're doing a PCG on-site grading booth there as well, and it's been tremendously successful. Our Armageddon booth, we opened it at 9 a.m. We had to close it by about 10:30 because we just got overrun. Put a sign up saying that we need to close due to demand. We'll reopen at 1 p.m. At 1 p.m. there was a queue just as far as you could see, and so we ended up having to close it and reopen and close and reopen it throughout the weekend. It was nuts, and we graded 300% more cards than we expected. So the events have been doing really well for us, and so because of that, we intend to do more of them. We want to do call-ins, we want to do pro tours, we want to do gaming conventions.
So they'll be out there. Like you're going to be on site. So people, if for those who don't know, again, it like the biggest challenge I've always felt was trying to justify the cost of shipping to send a card out. You don't know whether it's going to be graded or whatnot. But the on-site, there's no shipping cost or anything associated with it, right?
And there's no waiting.
Yeah, waiting sucks, man. Waiting is the worst.
Waiting sucks. Yeah, our on-site turnaround times are usually 2 to 4 hours. So you drop a card off in the morning, you pick it up in the afternoon. There's no wait.
Sweet. And you're not going to hit it like a high school teacher who wants to get the hell out, where you're just like A B C D D D A B B B, like you're just not like grading them without actually looking at them. Like, you guys do good work, and this again leads to the fact that the good work you do leads to increased demand, which you guys clearly have. But what is a population report? Because this is, like I said, something that is new to me, but it has significant it has a lot of significance to the collector market, right? Like, so explain to us what a population report is.
Yeah, so a population report is basically a report that shows all of the cards that have been graded by a company. So, like, for example, your specific Flesh and Blood card, let's say you have a cold foil Iron Rot Legs, right? Firstly, on the label itself, on your slab, there's a QR code on the back. You'll be able to scan that QR code, which will take you to a verification thing on our population report that'll show you this is the card we graded, this is the grades it was given, this is this authenticates everything, and then that feeds into a data report that we show front end to everybody. So you're going to be able to search through our sort of database of everything that we've graded and say, all right, I want to have a look at the cold foil Iron Rot Legs. Oh, okay, PCG have graded 64 of these, and then 9 of these got 9.5s, and 20 something of these got 9s, and my one here, my one here that's a 9 with this corners, and this is, around about average, or this is above average, or this is a really, really rare card because I got a 10 on this, and there are so few 10s that have been given out for this specific card. And then, you're just going to be able to search through and see subsets of data of the different things that we've graded. It's basically our full back-end database of what we're doing, but accessible to the public transparently.
So this is something along the lines more of, I mean, everybody when they sell cards or buy cards, something they'll just go and say like, oh, a TCGPlayer cost is this, the market value is this, or whatever. But how many are out there? How many are technically for sale? This is a true database of your particular, of everything that you've ever graded. And I'm assuming that this is already, it's not like, okay, starting today. It's from the beginning, right? You guys have this all on record?
Yeah. So I think we've got over 20,000 cards on record now, I believe. There are a few. So a big issue. We wanted to put the pop report out at 10,000 cards graded a couple of months back, but we've ran into a bunch of issues. And some of them were just that some officers were we were having some problems with our catalogs. So some officers were just like manually entering in the cards, and what we found out is that those labels that were being manually changed and entered weren't being saved in the system. So the database was pulling the old labels, the original whatever the database came up with, which could be anything. So no errors were fixed effectively. So we've had to spend the last couple of months going in and coupling the different things and basically combing through 20,000 cards and making sure that we fix up everything and that that all of the data is correct basically. So at current, I believe that there's about 700 cards. So maybe 3 or 4% or whatever that won't be in there that have yet to be fixed up. But we're confident to launch it with 98% of or 97% or something of what we've graded in there, and we'll be gradually adding back the other ones as we fix them up and as we kind of correct the catalog to what was actually graded.
So the FAB slab that you're talking about, and this is something that I think that a lot of people have had to for the longest while early on, and the uniqueness of Flesh and Blood being that you start with upwards of 6 or 7 cards already on the board. Having those vanity pieces, those cold foils and the beautiful pieces, like the expensive cards, they need to be protected, they need to be slabbed. And what I used to do is I had like the metallic slabs that I had, but then you'd have to kind of carry them around separately. Then I was like, well, top loaders are a little bit easier. If I'm running a hero with like 2 legendary equipments, I can put them in top loaders and slide them into the deck box.
They're ugly.
Yeah, and they just look bad. What is a FAB slab? And I understand what you're talking about, because like those snappables that can slide into a deck box, but they're kind of, I don't want to say they're flimsy, but they're kind of, in my opinion, just a solution that people have just found until something, I guess, better comes along. But is FAB slab a graded card that is in that kind of playable slab, or can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the FAB slab is exactly that. So instead of grading a card in a sort of large clunky slab like usual, we'll grade a card in a slab that is around about the same size as one of those snaps. So it's only slightly bigger than the card itself. So the front of the card, all you see is plastic that goes slightly over that, and then on the back we've got our metal label on the back that will have everything about that slab on the label there. So we're only going to have a label on the back of the card for the FAB slab.
And does this? I guess this is something that it's a separate service that you can just sort of opt into and say, oh, make it a FAB slab, and
so the FAB slab we're aiming for September, so just after the Pro Tour, hoping that we can roll it out by then. But yeah, it's sort of a Q4, a Q3, Q4 initiative. So we're waiting back for the samples, and then we've got to get the cases made and sent over to all the officers before we can roll the service out. But yeah, that is the plan is that people will just be able to pick that as part of their grading service, and then they're going to be able to play with their slabs really easily. And the slabs are going to fit into a lot of things. Like I use the Dragon Shield Nest 300 for example, and you can easily fit sort of 11, 12 slabs into there with a deck and everything like that. So it's all we are going to make it with that in mind. Make it easy to carry.
That's great. I mean, for what many people would describe as a dying card game, it's incredible that people are still investing their time and brains into improving the quality of just the QOL of how this game is played. Now, we are going to get to the meta and how, in my opinion, it is such a beautiful, balanced little meta that we've got going on. But before we do that, there's a few things that I also want to get to regarding yourself. And you alluded to something, and I want to see if I can't squeeze a little bit out of you a little bit more, because I know that we had discussed for a whole week. We had sort of, thrown darts back and forth about what we want to talk about and just how to sort of strategically kind of let the flow go to give a little bit of the information away. But there's some pieces that you you told me about that I want to squeeze out of you, but I don't want to get you
Yeah,
in
of course.
trouble. So I'm not going to say it. But you said that there's some good things coming. You guys are no longer associated with Channel Fireball. You are not part of the TCG player acquisition as such. You guys are kind of out there, but you're not going to be alone for long, as it were. Are you able at all, to a certain degree, to kind of maybe just, leave some breadcrumbs on the ground about where or who or what y'all are gonna kind of, have a nice little happy marriage with, or whatnot? It's not instant speed. I know it's not instant speed, because I would have been the first one to say
No, no,
that.
no. The whole point of lagging this video to today was to get to the point where I can just give you the whole loaf of bread, where I can just break it to you, that everything that's going on. So yeah, it's very, very different to the whole Channel Fireball situation, and everything like that. But yeah, obviously, you know, PCG is no longer going to be Channel Fireball branded. It is just going to be Premier Card Grading, and we are running all these, kind of rolling out all these awesome initiatives. But yeah, the thing that I've given you a few breadcrumbs from, and the thing that you're alluding to, is we have an official partnership, the first ever official partnership with a TCG company, for a grading company, and that is Legend Story Studios.
I've heard of them.
You definitely have heard of them.
I've heard of them.
That's not a partnership as in any sort of way, like a merger or anything like that. That's just a partnership to say that, very similar to the Dragon Shield and Legend Story Studios partnership, to say we are working together to to better these things for you. We are going to help each other. By the time this video airs, Legend Story Studios will have made their announcement. Their announcement's pegged for tomorrow our time, and your video is pegged to launch the day after that. So as people are watching this, the announcement should already be out there. There's an official Legend Story Studios PCG partnership, which I'm so excited about. It's literally a dream come true for me. I love working with James. I love working with LSS. I love everything that team and that company stands for. And I feel like we're so well aligned. So effectively what that partnership means, is that we are going to be helping them, with their, I guess, quality control, for cards, with their promos and prize cards and stuff like that. So all of the gold cards that you've been receiving at tournaments, so gold legendaries for top 8, gold cards for winning Road to Nationals, Pro Tour Championship cards as well, anything big and valuable, and nice. James's vision is that he wants only the absolute nicest copies of those cards to go to players, and that he loves shredding cards. He loves filing cards into the machine, as you've seen with Newson Dunn. And so what his commitment to the players are now is that Premier Card Grading is going to pre-grade all of those cards. So you're not going to receive them in slabs. Some of them you will, but for the most part, what the service is that basically PCG takes all of these gold cards, we pre-grade them, make sure that they get at least a 9 on all subgrades, centering, corners, edges, surface. Anything below a 9, James has said, anything below a 9, throw it in a box, we're shredding it. He is no longer, Legend Story Studios are no longer going to give out gold cards, high tournament prizes that aren't just beautiful, that aren't just immaculate. So we will pre-grade them, we will put them into a top loader with a security PCG sticker over the top of the top loader that authenticates that this is a 9+, that it's a guaranteed 9 on all subgrades, or better. And people will know that every prize card that they receive is stunning.
That's a great piece of sort of insurance, and allowing people to be certain, I guess, and just a little bit more comfortable and confident that the cards that they're getting are not, they weren't just sort of folded in someone's wallet and then walked into the venue, right? Like they're actually verified as such. And it just makes me laugh that you mentioned the throw them in a box and shred them kind of thing, because that whole S storm was, in my opinion, kind of it was a little bit funny, and I don't want to dig into that, but I've got you here now, and I want to ask you, if possible, when you do grade those cards, everything that's a 8.5 or lower, can you please videotape yourself shredding them so certain others in the community can lose their bloody minds about cards that were never in circulation, affecting market that doesn't exist? Just want to make sure that, I have your word that you will videotape this.
Well, I actually don't shred them. Every card is well documented from LSS to PCG. PCG grade them and we give them back the exact number of cards that they gave us. Just some are in a box for them to shred, and some are in a top loader with our sticker authenticating that it's a 9+. So I think that the main thing is just like a few of these gold cards and these really nice prize cards, might just have any sort of ding or kind of scratches or stuff, and a lot of it happens at factory, and a lot of it happens on the way to, whatever TO or, handled by anybody anywhere in the middle. And it's always just, James has always been a bit saddened to see, I guess people selling discounted gold foils and this, and it's a little bit damaged, and he just really wants to prevent that happening in the future. He really wants people to be really proud of what they won and know that, that they're holding really nice cards. And I guess on top of that as well is that these cards in these top loaders with the security sticker, if you remove the security sticker, it's got like a void thing behind it. As long as these cards stay with the sticker in the top loader, they can be submitted straight to PCG, and you are guaranteed a 9 on every subgrade. Like, we've already graded that. We already know that everything's at least a 9. So you're going to get a quad 9+ on every subgrade if you just submit it in the top loader with the sticker still on to any PCG office around the world.
So can I ask you then, since we're on this subject, is what's your reaction to a little bit of the outrage that occurred? Maybe outrage is not the correct terminology, but just a little bit of the reaction to the video of LSS shredding these tournament prize winning cards that were never going to be sold and never going to be in circulation.
I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I've known James for a long time. I know James loves ripping up cards. I think there's actually the very first nationals, the nationals in New Zealand, when they were giving out the top 8 gold cards. The grasp had a bit of a nick in it, it didn't look fantastic, and it was pointed out to James, and James looked at it and he just ripped the card in half, and he gave it, or I don't know if the person won it or him, but he loves ripping cards. He loves ripping cards that are damaged. He wants, he absolutely wants, only a certain number to be out there and them to just be the nicest ones and all the rest of it. So ripped the card in half, gave them the rip copy and said, I'm going to send you an immaculate copy, a new copy that doesn't have a ding in it. Let's, this one's done, this one's over.
So there was no, but like on your end, I mean, clearly. So out of curiosity, do you think that this guy, like this, the reaction of the masses, of which most of them, I'd say that 99% of the sort of negative feedback from that whole incident was from non-Flesh and Blood players, and I can't say that it's all. Maybe 99% is it's a figure of speech, but the vast majority was from outside of the Flesh and Blood sphere of regular players and people committed to playing the game and whatnot. A lot of it was just and sort of the dance around was that it's bad optics. Look at the price of a tunic, and they're just shredding these cards and whatnot. Your impression of that sort of that mentality, and do you think that this got all the way up back to James, and James kind of just laughed it off?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, James has a commitment to collectability, right? This is about upholding that commitment to the players. And this isn't even the first time he's shredded gold tunics. People that are new to the game might have seen this being the first time, but actually a video aired about 2 years ago of a bunch of gold tunics shredded that Sasha received. So when the pandemic hit, and the whole circuit of call-ins and stuff that were planned in the back end all got cancelled. And this was the early days after the first couple of US call-ins. I think back in 2019, there was a New Zealand call-in, a Sydney call-in, and maybe two US ones, and they were all about 40 people. This was right at the very start of the game, right? And then there was a bunch of call-ins in the pipeline. I think maybe like 40 of them or something, and the pandemic had just hit, and everything had to be cancelled. And so they had hundreds of these gold tunics that they were planning to give out because they were going to give one to everybody in the top 8. So what James did is he said, well, by the time that this comes back around and then we do these call-ins, there's going to be new gold foils and stuff like that. So maybe we'll keep some tunics because they're special and they're the original. Maybe we can give them to the winners, but we're not going to give out these hundreds of tunics, so we're going to shred them. And so they shredded hundreds of tunics, and they sent Sasha, who won one of the American call-ins, I think they sent some prizes to him, or the trophy for winning or something, and they sent it in a box full of shredded tunics. They sent him a literal box full of, I think it would have been hundreds of shredded tunics.
Yeah.
So that video is out there somewhere. I saw it a couple of years ago.
Well, that's the thing. And the other thing that people need to understand
Old
is that
tunics.
well, LSS is not the only one that shred promos and prize cards, etc. Like that. This is the other thing. But again, old news. New news would be also besides PCG. We're going to move on from that. We're going to get to the meta in just a second. I just want to ask you one more thing about just what you're up to outside of playing, and that would also be teaching. And then there's the Flesh and Blood School that you are developing, kind of like an academy, as it were. And I don't know of many other players that would I would trust to kind of sort of run this as like a headmaster, as it were, as a Principal Rogers at the FAB School. So talk to us a little
about that.
talk to us a little bit about FAB School.
Yeah, so Fab School is going to be something that we're going to roll out next month. It's a little bit of a side project, bit of fun. But basically, the last year or two, so many people have reached out to me and to Tarek and to people close to me, Nick, etc. To ask, would you do coaching? Would you do can you make more content? We're dying for content. We'd happily pay for it. We just really really want some more high level stuff going on, and there's just not enough of it out there yet. And would you help me to better my game and all of the rest of it? So we sort of between the team Dragon Shield, we sort of Tarek Patel, Rob Seigel, Nick Butcher, and myself, we sort of said, well, none of us really have the time to do this for these people, but collectively we probably do. There's people like Nick, for example, that he really wants to turn Flesh and Blood into his main focus in life. Obviously Tarek's a doctor and has full-time job there, and I have my businesses and full-time work there, so it can I only have time for a part-time thing. But
Rob has his hair. I mean, that's a
Rob has his
like
hair.
4 hours a day.
Hours a day. Yeah, I know, it's unreal. But yeah, so between us, we actually have the time and the ability that if this is really what people want, which has been shown to us absolutely is, that collectively we could do this, and we could produce quite a lot of content. So the plan is, we've been working on this in the background. We've been setting it all up. We've got everything set up at each person's house to do this, and I've kind of headed up the project a little to get this rolled out to a level that I think people will appreciate, and that it'll be a positive thing in the community. With we're planning to put out multiple videos a week, just kind of a massive amount of high level content. We're going to be doing gameplay videos. We're going to be doing draft cam videos where we talk through all of the picks and stuff as well. We're going to be doing deck profiles, full sideboarding guides, and then even on top of that, we're going to do it's going to be a big Patreon thing. It's going to be called FAB School. It's by Team Dragon Shield. So, Rob, Nick, Tarek, and myself. And for the Patreons, we're also going to do things like online drafts that they'll get invited to. So they'll be able to test draft for the Pro Tour with Team Dragon Shield with us. And I think we can really put out an awesome amount of content that's going to be really, really helpful to people.
Now, you know what you haven't mentioned, which I think some people, out there might want, is some little bit of guidance, maybe a little bit of knowledge bestowed upon them regarding casting FAB matches. Maybe you need sort of a guest speaker, for the top tier Patreon subscribers, obviously, have access to the...
Absolutely. So,
I mean, I don't know who else you might know who has, a few licks in on casting professionally, but if ever
Tanner Grace is fantastic. I agree. I think he'd do that role really, really well and help out with that sort of stuff. So I'm with you on that.
When did this become a pro Tanner Grace kind of a segment? No, this is not the case. But casting is something that I got the pleasure of doing with you in New Jersey, and this is something that kind of crossed my mind as well. People like Brendan Patrick, for example, have been very vocal and active in terms of trying to make the transition and be more of a broadcaster versus a competitive player. You yourself are, and this isn't meant to as just sort of flattery or whatnot. It's just the fact that a lot of people that high-level players that I speak to regard you as one of, if not the best Flesh and Blood player out there right now, which is funny because the conversation that we had when people were talking about like the best Flesh and Blood players, the conversation spawned, I believe, when I was talking about, would Canada's best 8 beat America's best 8? And we're talking about the best players in the world and this and that, and I think we got on to talking about, is like Isaac Root the best player in North America? Is he the best player in the world? And then everybody's like, no, Matt's the best player in the world. And I thought they were talking about me, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, you're talking about me? Is this a joke? They're like, no, Matt Rogers, you doofus. And I was like, oh. So being regarded as the best player in the world, does this kind of, first of all, do you have any aspirations to return to the desk or make a transition to the desk, given the fact that you're so busy with all your businesses, with this FAB school that you're developing, etc., that competition and staying on top of competition might not be your not only your first priority, but even a viable option for you anymore? Is moving to a broadcasting and a little bit more of less stressful, less commitment to being a broadcaster, is that something that is on your radar, perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, I really, really enjoyed. I really enjoy broadcasting. I really enjoy being in the booth with you guys and doing that sort of thing. And I absolutely want to keep that as a part of something that I do. Right? Like my whole thing is that I try to do the things that I enjoy in life, and I try to make sure that I surround myself with the right tools and the right assets and the right people, that it doesn't have to be a main focus. It can just be, something that I do for fun on the side. So yeah, I'm never gonna, devote a massive amount of time to it. I'm never gonna, just do that. It's always gonna be something that, I do for fun on the side, that I really enjoy doing if people want me doing it, So yeah, things like tournament will generally come first, and if I don't make top 8, if I don't do particularly well, and there's potentially a spot open to cast the top 8 with you and Tannen and such, then I'll happily jump in, and that's how I see myself. I don't see myself transitioning from player to broadcaster and focusing on that, or only focusing on playing or anything like that. I kind of see it as, I'm available. If it's a bit of fun, I'm gonna jump in and do it, and I'm gonna give it all I got and give it my best shot.
That's that last quote is also a great Tinder profile, if I've ever heard one. If there's a spot available, I'll jump in and give it my best shot. I think that's if there's space available. Yeah.
Is that gonna be my catch line? No.
It's gotta be. It seems like every time you're on the program, there's a new Matt Rogers catch line and the catchphrase, and it's always great.
They never stick.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll, when in France, you could just kind of make you could just kind of create like a wandering Tinder profile of just Matt Rogers with all your gold foils and that catchphrase. So that said, let's move on to the meta, which the last sort of pie chart that I saw. I don't know if I've seen week 2 yet, but I doubt it would be that much different. It might be a little bit more resolved. But the week 1 RTN pie chart was this mosaic. It was just like this beautiful sort of
Yeah, it is.
wagon wheel of different little pie slices. I think that the most any hero had in terms of representation was like Viserai at sub 19%. This is a far
Yeah.
cry from the 40% Starvo pie slices that like Triangle of Doom is no longer a situation. The meta is so diverse, and I want to perhaps pick your brain a little bit about why that is.
Yeah, the meta is beautiful at the moment. This is the best it's ever been in this game. It is the best time ever to play Flesh and Blood. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun in this meta. I think it's wide open. I think there's so many different options. There's so many different places that you can take each hero as well, and just almost everything's viable. It's crazy. Unless you're an Azalea fan, like no matter what, no matter what gets your juices flowing, you can play it at top level events at the highest level. So I think that is really cool. And I think, yeah, I think that, we just don't have anything that is, kind of mathematically so far ahead. We don't have anything that's broken. We don't have anything that breaks the fundamentals of the game and that, becomes unbeatable or impossible to kind of keep up on the same rate with, which really allows the all of these different strategies that sort of average out at the same sort of rates of how they attack and how they utilize resources throughout the game and stuff. It all kind of balances out really well, which allows you to kind of do whatever you want to do in this meta game. It's great.
So what did you play in this RTN season? I saw a lot of Viserais that were out there, but even the prominence of Viserai over a long period of time, it just seems like every time it took a hit, it would eventually roar back. Somebody with with competency was able to pilot it to a tournament win, RTN win, very successfully. For yourself, what did you play in this past RTN season?
So the good thing about a meta like this is you do just get to play your favorite deck, and that's exactly what I did. Like so many people, is I took my favorite hero and I just played it because nothing is an absolute raw dog. Nothing's just going to get destroyed. So I played Oldhim throughout the RTN season. I don't think it's the best deck. I think maybe it could be, but it is the deck that I enjoy the playstyle of the most. So I love playing Oldhim. So I tried a couple of different builds throughout the road to Nat season. I top 8'd each of the events. I didn't win any. I came second in the last one. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Yeah, kind of icing up my opponents and attacking with hammers and all the rest of it. So it was really cool.
I thought we were talking to a champion. So everybody disregard what he says because he didn't even win an RTN. Who are you?
I was a champion like way back in the day,
Yeah.
like I'm washed up now. All these people that keep putting me in these conversations of like best player and stuff, like you're talking about 2020 Matt Rogers here. Like this is
Yeah, well, you got to sort of ride that wave until it just fizzles out. But I mean, the conversation of Matt Rogers being the best player in the world, do they even know that you didn't even win an RTN? You washed up clown. How dare you? But
yeah.
That's the beautiful part about this meta, and this is something that I think a lot of card games have always struggled with. I know that in the various different titles I play, there's always the higher up the ladder you climb, the more refined and honed down the options of viability become, because eventually the cream rises to the top. And I want to ask you, in this case, it's been nearly an entire month of Uprising meta. It's been about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
We have not seen a true, sort of dyad or triad of winners that are out there. Of these are the 3 that you play, and unless you're very adept at something else, you should probably focus on these. But it's really, like you mentioned, you play the hero that you want to, and I'm struggling myself because I'm a terrible deck builder. I admit that I'm a good student and I'm a good player, but I'm very poor at building decks. So when somebody's like, "Oh, just play what you want," that means I have to go and dig up cards and put something together with all this new stuff, and I just don't have the patience. But for this meta, is there something that's like it's just hinged on? Is this very delicate meta that so many other card games wish it had this kind of diversity? Is it balanced on some one hero as the fulcrum here, or is there actually a true balance where if you take one of those heroes out, everything kind of stays the same? Players like David Root, for example, are saying that everything is just balanced on Prism. Once Prism is booted out, there is going to be this reshuffling where a lot of other heroes are going to eventually just dominate everyone else. The existence of Prism is keeping everything in delicate balance.
Yeah, I think I disagree with that. I think that we are just in a full balanced state. I think that the game for the most part is pretty balanced. I think that, most cards generally average out to do the same sort of thing. So like, we don't usually have cards that are significantly more powerful than other cards. So the thing that throws the balance off is usually heroes that have significantly more powerful abilities. So things like Chain being able to give things go again, and the fact that you were able to have all these extra cards. Nothing else allows you to draw 2 or 3 cards for one thing and be able to play with like 7 or 8 card hands like Chain did, right? And then Starvo that had this ridiculous hero ability that was like worth more than a card 60% of turns or whatever, right? So the things that threw the balance out in this game, I think, were just significantly more powerful abilities that were worth, multiple points, as it were. And now I believe that we're in a game where all of the hero abilities, are so. They're not, none of them are worth a whole card a turn or even every 2 turns or anything like that. And then all of the cards are about on balance, on par-ish with each other on terms of point value per card. So I really do believe that we're at a balanced state in this game, and until some sort of broken interaction or some sort of hero ability or set of cards or something that are significantly better than the average card that's made comes out, then I think we're going to stay there. And you can living legend a hero, you can ban a hero, you can do whatever. I don't think that it's going to mess things up.
That's a very nice thing to hear, because I think we came off of a meta where it was this 3 horse race, and if that 4th horse had a shotgun and a clear sight, it maybe had a chance. But typically, as it is now, like you mentioned, I'm this kind of confusion that a lot of people are having, and if you can see it on social media all over the place, is people's main thing is like, okay, I got a tournament in 3 days. What the hell do I even bring? Because everything is viable. And I think in those situations, like you mentioned, just leaning on what you know might be
Yeah.
that extra edge that you need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you get to just bring whatever you love playing the most. And to be honest, if you're having fun and if you're enjoying yourself and if you understand the dynamic and the role that your hero plays in a game, you're going to do a lot better.
So the other question, I guess, is that if you were to give one deck, maybe even like like a 1 percentage point advantage, is there one deck that, again, this is just all things considered, everybody is the same player. Obviously, players and metas and matchups are going to factor in local, regional, etc. metas. But if all things considered on the global stage, if there was one hero that you would think that might kind of excel at, Pro Tour France, let's say, the one hero that you think will be most represented because people think it's just the better hero, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean that's a hard question to answer. I guess the only hero that kind of stands out as potentially a little bit better than the others at the moment is Fire, just because of the card point situation. Fire is a little bit ahead, but with the on hit, yeah, with the fact that it doesn't have a whole lot of on hits, maybe that kind of balances it out. But I do believe that it kind of puts out a bit more damage than the other decks. Over a 5 turn subset or whatever. But yeah, I guess Fi's maybe a little bit ahead. I'd like to think Oldham's a little bit of ahead just because of what it can do, but realistically, it's a pipe dream. I just love Oldham. I love playing it. But yeah, like I think honestly, I don't think there's a true answer to that question right now. I think that there is just so many viable decks, and if you break everything down to like three and a half points a card, the sort of card value between blocking and attacking and what a card's worth and what it costs you to do X damage and block X damage and stuff, then I think everything is kind of balancing out pretty even.
I like that. All right, we're gonna end off the main discussion here, Matt, with another very wonderful initiative that you've put forward, which is the charity drive, which you can do definitely a better job of explaining, what this initiative is, who the the benefactors are of the money raised, and how people can also contribute. So, talk to us about the charity drive.
Yeah, so the Cancer Society charity drive that I did last year was kind of one of the proudest moments of my life. So, it started off as a really close friend of mine, Cale McCreef. His father had been battling cancer for a long time, and he'd been, sort of beside his father's side through this battle. And unfortunately, his father lost his battle to cancer and passed away. And, between our sort of friend group, Nick Butcher and myself, and a few others close to Cale, we really wanted to do something. We really wanted to do something in his name, and sort of, and in respect for his loss and what he's been through there. So we decided that, hey, the Flesh and Blood community are an incredible community. We're all, we can all kind of come together and we can all give a little bit, and do something in respect to this. So we put on an event. At the time it was COVID times and whatnot, and a lot of events were going online and stuff. So we decided to do an online event, a sort of charity event where we'd give away a bunch of stuff, and all of the money would be given to Cancer Society. And that spiraled into this big, huge cancer drive. So many people got behind it. People reached out to me and said, "I want to help beyond just this event. Can I donate to the prize pool? Can I give?" And so I was like, "Yeah, that would be amazing. More people that want to help, absolutely. Yes, people can donate to the prize pool." The issue there is we got so much support that the prize pool just ended up crazy, and so many people and businesses, LSS themselves, and everybody reached out and wanted to contribute to this. So we got to the point where we were like, okay, well maybe we'll start auctioning off some of these, some of these gifts and some of these amazing prizes and stuff that people are giving, and we'll donate the money to the charity. So it started this whole drive, and the drive just went on, and I started doing, we just started adding more things to it. I mean, I put on a big keg barbecue thing where people would come and they'd pour from the keg and donate to the charity drive. We did,
dude,
like a bunch of different things.
Where is this thing? Where is this keg in this party, my man? Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
The initiative, the where the money's going, everything, the support that you spoke about. Again, it's incredible how one terrible thing can bring people together in order to create lasting positive effects. So good on you. And for those who are interested, how can they see some of these items, and what are some of these items that they can either bid on or perhaps donate with for a chance to win? What are some of these items? How do they get to that?
Yeah, last year we auctioned off all of those items and we ran this big event. It was the biggest Flesh and Blood event of the time, and all together throughout the whole drive we raised $55,000 for Cancer Society. So it was
Wow.
absolutely mind-blowing. 55,000. So so this year we wanted to do it again. Wanted to do a big event. We talked to LSS. They gave us like a one-of-a-kind playmat last time, and helped out with a bunch of things. And this time they said, look, we'll give you a battle hardened event. You can run a massive battle hardened event for Cancer Society in New Zealand, and So last year we did it online. This year we're going to do a physical battle hardened event, and then we're doing the same thing. So we're auctioning off a bunch of stuff where people are reaching out and wanting to donate, wanting to get behind this drive again. We're gonna we're gonna do it all again. We're gonna go as strong as we can again, and we're gonna really support a good cause. So we've started the auctions. I think there's about three or four up at the moment. I've auctioned off a PTI, a professional tournament invite. So for somebody that wants to play France, if they win that auction, they can go to France and play in the Pro Tour there. And then LSS have donated a very special rare playmat that'll be auctioned off as well. That's in there. Magnolia Gaming have given us like a case and a couple of 9.5s. Some community members have given us some really cool rare collectible things. And yeah, we're just auctioning them off on the marketplace. So this is the North American Marketplace group on Facebook. The auctions run for about 2 days. Everything that if you win, you get the item. All of the money goes straight to Cancer Society. So that's all part of our drive. And then also because the event this year is going to be in New Zealand, a lot of people can't take part. Last year we had people from all over the world playing and getting involved in this. Obviously, this year we're doing a physical event in New Zealand, so internationally people aren't going to be able to come and play the event a lot of the time, but they can still get involved. We've set up a Give a Little page, so if you don't mind sharing the link down here as well,
Sure.
People can go over to our Give a Little page. They can donate an entry fee, to sort of be part of this as well. Any support whatsoever is really appreciated. If people or businesses, community superstars, anything, if you want to reach out to me, if you want to give anything to the cause, if you want anything, to be auctioned off, we shout out your business, we shout out your name. Feel free to just message me on Facebook. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Just feel free to reach out to me.
Well, good on you guys. And if there's anything I can do to help, honestly, I don't have many collectibles. I don't think there's anybody that wants anything that I have, let alone nobody wants.
Sign that cap.
This cap. I mean, if there's one thing, I'm more than happy to part with most of my items that I have. If there's anything that you think would be, worthwhile to sort of add to the pot, I mean, I'm trying to think of things that I have that are even desirable. Because the second I scribble my name on a card, people are gonna be like, "Don't want it." So we'll see how it goes, but we'll chat offline and I'll see if I can find something that I can offer to help out with. But yeah, there you go. So we'll add the link in the description of the video here, but please check it out and contact Matt if you do want to contribute or you have stuff that you can go, because again, a great cause is a great cause, and $55,000 last time. I think we can blow that out of the water this time. So let's make that happen. Matt, we do have another segment called Go Again.
Okay.
And this time, we've got plenty of people who have submitted some all kinds of silly questions. So will you stay for Go Again?
Absolutely. I will go again.
Hell yes. All right, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with more of Matt Rogers and Go Again. Instant Speed is proudly supported by BCW Supplies. If you need protection for your cards, be it sleeves, deck boxes, storage, organizational tools, or hey, are you a comic book collector, a coin collector? BCW Supplies has your hookup. Use the code ISP10. Get 10% off all of your orders. Go to bcwsupplies.com. BCW, protect, store, display. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go wide on the two-time returning champion, Matt Rogers. This is a segment we call Go Again. We've got some questions from the community, Matt, and some of these are a little bit off the wall, and I cannot wait to get into them. Are you ready to go again?
All right, I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Kel McCreath, and this is the first question asking, says, I've known Matt pre-Flesh and Blood. I've seen his manner in-game change with Flesh and Blood. He's much more relaxed and willing to play the game in the best of spirits, allowing players to take back mistakes, not miss triggers, etc. I'd like to know why that is. Also, why does his table talk suck so bad? So, was Matt Rogers like this vicious gremlin at the table that was just like flipping tables and like talking smack? I find that very hard to believe.
No, I mean I was when I played Magic with Kale, I was reasonably competitive. That was the thing to do, right? Like, um and that was just kind of how the community worked. Like you were reasonably competitive and you held people to account on their mistakes and all the rest of it. When Flesh and Blood came out, it was a new game and a lot of people were going to be making all sorts of mistakes. So when we got into this new game, I more than happily let everybody take back anything that while they were learning. If they decided, oh, this wasn't the right play, yeah, that's all right. Undo it. Do whatever the right play is. If you missed a tunic, tick that up. I want to make sure that everything's kind of fair and above board, right? And then just in playing that way, and in allowing my opponents to play at their absolute best. Winning games just felt better, and just playing games just was a lot more fun, and a much more inclusive environment, and we really built a community off it. So it just hasn't really changed. So I always just feel so much more rewarding winning a game where there's no asterisks, like. I sort of the sort of main thing for me was that first nationals where I went 13-0, and every single tunic missed, I reminded my opponent about every single thing. At a national level tournament, I let them take it back, everything like that, and I managed to win all 13 rounds with absolutely no asterisks, and that felt incredible. And every win, every game felt so much better than Magic, and I just couldn't go back to the old community. So I've just kind of tried to uphold that way of playing and that spirit of playing, and it's a lot more fun and feels a lot better. And I mean, there is limits to that. Obviously, if you shouldn't play the game for your opponent, and if a certain decision that they've made or something affects how you would block, and gives them a tell on what you're planning to do the next turn and stuff, you can't really rewind that. But for the most part, anything that's supposed to happen, you just let happen.
Yeah, when it comes to games, especially when I mean, you're talking about nationals, but like even myself in practice and such, when you're playing with somebody and you want to improve or just test your mettle against someone else, you want to test against the ideal circumstances about the optimal outcomes, and that's the how that the result is genuine. But I feel like that kind of also translates to a degree where when you're helping your opponent make the right choices, or not necessarily you're not helping your opponent make the right choices. You're essentially allowing them to convert on their own realization that they made an error, be it the tunic or whatever. Winning those matches, it no longer becomes a matter of, well, I didn't win, they lost. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's no, I won. Like I won based off all of the optimal outcomes that they possibly presented me. So. I hear you. All right. This one coming from.
I think there was a second part of that question, right? There was some
your table talk
going on here.
Yeah, well,
I think
you got the microphone. Smack it.
I got to just take a stab at Kale. I guess when him and I play, my focus is on winning the game. He kind of gives up on that because he knows it's not going to happen. So he focuses on the table talk side. So I guess I got to let him win those ones.
Well, that in itself is table talk. So you actually just kind of like threw some haymakers there too. All right. Well, suck on that, Kale. Next one coming from Dave Rude. Who would win between you and Tarek in a best of 3? And the 3 events are Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, hot dog eating contest.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Magic I haven't played in well over a year. No, probably 2 years, and Tarek still plays regularly, so I think he's probably got my number on that one. Flesh and Blood, I've got his number, let's be honest.
So it all comes down to the tube steak eating contest.
The tiebreaker is the hot dog eating contest. I mean, I love hot dogs, man. I can slam those things. Like American hot dogs, man. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe realistically, Tarek's a bigger guy. Like he could probably slam a few more than me. But maybe let's find out. I don't know. I'm not gonna give a definite answer on that. I don't know who wins the tiebreaker. So I guess at PT Lou in the Team Dragon Shield testing house, we're going to have to buy some hot dogs, and we're going to have to record this and make it happen.
Okay, I need to be here for this. I absolutely need to be here for this, because, I mean, everybody knows of Joey Chestnut and the absolute monstrosity that he does every year. at the hot dog eating contest that like in like Coney Island or wherever the hell that crap show occurs. Either way, if you concede magic to him and he just says, "Yeah, Matt's got my number in Flesh and Blood," this literally becomes like a one-trick pony, which is it's going to be a hot dog eating contest. And I'm with you, man, because like those hot dogs, like I don't know how many I could like easily dust a dozen of those, like no questions
Oh,
asked.
yeah,
Like
okay.
like give me a backyard barbecue and nothing to do the next day, and I can easily just completely dust a dozen of those bad boys, no problem. Like, is there a time limit? Like, we're gonna have to set some rules here. Like, if
Yeah.
anybody out there listening has any kind of judging experience in hot dog eating contests, know the rules, the proper commissions that we need to apply to, please let us know. But if you're down for this, Matt, I am absolutely down for this.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm probably gonna embarrass the hell out of myself. I'll get through like the third hot dog, and people are gonna be like, he's Tarek's just down 10, man. Like, come on."
Yeah, but
Like, I may just completely embarrass myself, but yeah, I'm willing to give it a go.
yeah, well, like Tarek to me feels like Tarek's a true competitor. This guy's just like amazing
Yeah,
at everything he does, but he strikes me as the
yeah.
type who's gonna go down that nasty route of like dunking the bun in water so he could just like push it down. Like I feel like that is where he'd go. Like a true competitor, he may think it's nasty. The doctor in him is just crying out for the absolute pounding his body's going to be taking. However, if there's a W at the end of that rainbow, he will chase it the entire way. He will be dunking those buns in his cup of water like the nasty filth that he is just to beat you. But I will be there. I will absolutely
All
be
right,
there.
let's do it.
All right.
I'm very competitive as well, so we'll see. I'll give it my best shot.
Next question coming from Andy and Modell asking, how have players' quality changed over the past 12 months of competitive play? Are there any players you look up to? Now, this is a conversation that we actually had on the previous episode where we had the conversation, half a year ago where we said, how have you seen the overall skill set of the player base improve? And you were really like, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be on top of the world in 6 months. I think that I'm going to get blown past. How do you feel about that now in retrospect?
Yeah, I was right. Haha. But yeah, no, I think that people, yeah, have just continued to get better. We've seen, I mean, at the Pro Tour that whole weekend, the talent that we saw out of Europe that just like came out of nowhere, for a lot of the rest of the world, and we got absolutely blown away. I think that yeah, there's some major talent coming out, and it is just getting better and better. The bar just constantly is getting lifted, and it's really really cool to see. And it's forming these incredible games on coverage as well. Of just cast it. When I was in the booth for top 8 for casting that pro tour, that was unlike anything. Surely you can relate to this. That was unlike anything in the past. The absolute level and the way that the games kind of edged through and stuff was just a whole nother thing, and it was exciting and it was magical.
The way that I kind of envision myself when it comes to casting is, casting that level of play. It's kind of like being the worst jockey in a horse race where everyone else is so far ahead of you, and all you're doing is you're just gripping the ropes, hoping to just make sure that you never lose sight of that race in front of you, so that you can
Of the
kind of
race, yeah.
because it's just the level of competition, the skill is just so much better. And
Yeah, wait.
yeah, like I mean, you must have, being there and seeing it, and is it? Do you feel like you've already been lapped by the field, or do you feel like you're still within that leading pack of horses?
No, I'm still holding on. I'm for a little bit longer at least. I think I'm still with the pack. I don't think I've been lapped yet. But there's definitely no way you can say Matt Rogers is the best player in the world anymore. There is a lot of people out at the front now. I've surrounded myself by a bunch of really incredible players as well, and I guess that goes to the second part of that question where he asked, are there any players that you look up to? Well, I've literally built a team around around the closest people to me that I do look up to. there is some incredible talent in Tarek Patel and Nick Butcher and Rob, and in a lot of these players on the top level. So I've tried to surround myself with the players that I look up to the most. Yeah, I think that there's, I mean, Michael Hamilton, what he's done, even the Arsenal Pass guys, Hayden, what he's accomplishing and how he's playing the game and stuff like that. It's all just incredible, to be honest. It's all just really cool to watch, really cool to be a part of, and it's just really fun to be, in the race with these guys.
I love it. This one coming from Jim at FAB TCG Cards, asking, what future class are you most looking forward to, and what would you like to see as their mechanic? So I suppose, James has already told us that the next set is called Dynasty. There's going to be a new class altogether. I don't know what ins you have in terms of just kind of talking about it, and I don't want, as somebody who has lived under the overlording shadow of an NDA for many different games, I know that it's dangerous to say too much. But what would be a class that you'd want to see, and what would you like their mechanic to be?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have any ins. I don't know anything about any classes or anything like that. The first I find out is if Fab with Matt gets a spoiler card, we haven't had one yet. I don't think that season has started. They haven't been given out yet. So I think I would really like to see like an alchemist class. I think that is something that could be like an alchemist hero. I think that's something that could be maybe the closest thing I can think of to Dash. I really enjoyed playing Dash and the kind of game plan and mechanics of like kind of building things up and assembling and stuff. And I think that an alchemist class might be able to do some really cool stuff there. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I'm definitely keen for something that is a little bit more, not just playing a card and blocking with a card each turn or whatever. Something that has a bit more of a long game aspect and is kind of building towards or doing converting or doing some really interesting stuff in a game.
So as an alchemist, I guess one of the mechanics that I could use, there's so many potions and items and stuff. So I suppose that's a nice little way to interact with those cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, next up, this is from Capolo, aka Andrea Biaggi, asking, what is the worst condition a card got sent to be graded by PCG? I don't know if you know this or if you've heard through the grapevine some rumors or some chuckles of being like, somebody wanted this graded? Really? Like, what's the worst you've seen?
I have not seen a 1 or a 2 yet. Obviously, I don't see all the cards that come through PCG. There's 4 offices worldwide, but that is what the pot report's for. So the pot report, which should be going live very shortly, I think we're likely to have it up live next week. That should have, people are going to be able to delve through and look at what the worst condition cards are. So I mean, personally, the lowest condition card I've seen is a 5. A kind of beat up base set Charizard, which still looks really nice and is obviously somebody had it as a kid or whatever and played with it. That card's been loved. So kind of comes with that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if somebody can find us like a 1. I think a couple of people have. So there was, I think, a card with a 4 centering submitted. The rest of the card was really nice, but the centering was way off. So I think people are trying to find these like horribly centered cards and maybe even scuff them up a little bit as well on the edges and corners and such to try to get these low grades. So it'll be really cool to see if something can come through like super low.
It's just funny how people just eventually migrate to, okay, what is the worst we can possibly do? Like, there's got to be some group of people out there with a competition of saying, okay, whoever can get the most 9s with the lowest center grading, like if we can get like whoever has the lowest center grade but the most 9s across the board, 9 pluses across the board, wins like a contest. Like, that would be hilarious, but that's just me. I'm a psycho when it comes to this kind of stuff. Next one. This one's from Greg at Darth Prentice, asking, with recent acquisitions of major TCG companies, how does Matt foresee this impacting his business and the TCG communities in general? So you talked a little bit about what the TCGPlayer acquisition of Channel Fireball means to PCG and you specifically, which in reality, it actually was an opportunity, and it closed some doors, but it opened others. But in terms of just impacting the TCG community in general, do these kinds of acquisitions, how do they affect the community?
Yeah, well, I think there's lots of positive and negative effects to it. I can see a lot of positives coming out of TCG Player. They are an incredible company that have achieved, yeah, some pretty big feats. So they're obviously yeah, just talented and dedicated, and I think that they're going to be able to take hopefully the content side of what came from Channel Fireball to a new level. I think that there's going to be much some improvements maybe to automation and technology in terms of binder posts and stuff for the stores, which is just good for everybody. I think if it's good for the industry, if it lifts our industry to a new level, then I think that that's hugely positive. I think there's always negatives involved in large company acquisitions, especially for a kind of small, tight-knit community in this industry. I think that bigger companies taking bigger slices of things kind of makes it harder for the smaller guys like me and other small businesses to kind of compete and come in and innovate. But yeah, overall, I think this acquisition specifically, overall, my view is that it's very positive for the community.
Love it. Two more. This one's from Vera, or at Vera Veda, asking, at the end of the Pro Tour, Matt mentioned that Lexi's about to be really good. When can we expect a Lexi 201 course?
Yeah, I do think Lexi is very good at the moment. In one of my road to Nats, I played against a guy that was undefeated with Lexi. I think he was 5-0. That deck is scary. That deck is very, very scary in what it can do. I do think Lexi is in a pretty good place at the moment. It's not a deck I've been focusing a lot of time on, so I don't think I'm the right person just yet to do an article, but I think my teammates are. I do think that Team Dragon Shield are going to have a good Lexi deck testing for this Pro Tour, and I think that is absolutely some content that we can make on Fab School and that we can give on Fab School. So yeah, it's some content that I can provide a little bit of insight, but probably not something that I should leave, given I have limited time on Fab and I'm focusing more on Oldham and draft and stuff, and to kind of be the team Oldham for people to for my teammates to crash into or whatever. And then but yeah, I think they're coming up with some good lists, and I think that there's going to be some really, really cool deck guide stuff that will come out for Lexi and for all of the heroes on Fab School.
Sounds good. Last one from John Valley's asking, since you've been in since the beginning, what piece of advice would you give LSS about maintaining hype for the game? This could be gameplay, communication, more products, etc.
Yeah, I think they're getting the products around about right. Kind of, two main sets, maybe two supplemental sets, sort of thing a year, a couple of draft sets a year. I think is around about right. The communication is the biggest thing. I think that giving people more lead time for events, starting that hype earlier, allowing people to apply for time off to sort their travel and everything like that without it being a stressful, or without them having to debate with their partner about the cost of flight tickets now and all the rest of it will, really, really smoothen things out. The best piece of advice I could give LSS is just to kind of get a bit better on the communication side of things, specifically for events, and get the information out there to their fans earlier. Other than that, I think they're whacking the ball out of the park. Honestly, I think LSS are doing amazing things. I think the products are great. I think the balancing, has stepped up a lot. And I think, their marketing as a whole, I think, I just think they're doing a really, really good job, and I'm so proud to be, a part of it in any way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, it's hard to criticize when everything's just kind of feeling honky dory. But they are going to stumble. It's going to happen. They have stumbled in the past. It's going to happen again. But at the moment, it's just we're all having fun. So. That's kind of where we're at. And ultimately, Matt, I do appreciate you being on the show. Again, a two-timer, potentially maybe in the future, our first three-time guest, which
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, you got to beat Hayden.
I got to compete for this, right?
Well, it's a highly coveted title. I mean,
it sounds it.
Let's be real. Now that there's no more gold, full art tunics, being the
It's
first
next best thing.
well, being the first 3-time guest on Instant Speed, I mean, that's got to be up there. Like, the people are pining for that. So maybe that'll be the a prize that we can put up for auction, which means that whoever wins has to be on 2 other times prior. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. But Matt, you gave us a whole lot of information. Clearly, you've got a lot going on. If you can just kind of summarize where people can, get more Matt Rogers, get in touch with you if they have to, or if they want to sort of discover a little bit more about all the cookie jars that your greasy little hands are in.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to get in touch with me is on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on the fan page. I'm on the, groups on there. You can reach out to me. You can message me. I'll try to reply. I generally try to reply to everybody. My message request box kind of can get full sometimes, and I can be pretty busy. But I'm not on Twitter that much. I sort of log in maybe once a week to kind of check on things, and I'm not on Discord barely ever. So Facebook is the easiest way to get a hold of me. I can't, I just don't really have the capacity to be on all of the social media platforms and all of that sort of stuff. I just got so much going on, so I try to stick primarily to Facebook.
Well, I'm just saying, Elon Musk is running multiple major companies, and he manages to make an ass of himself on social media. So no excuses, Matt. You got to go out there and just jump in. But like I said, you are an immensely busy person doing a lot of great things, and I do thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much for inviting me on. I mean, what you do here with this content is incredible for the community. I think most of us watch every video, and really do look forward to the videos coming out. So thanks so much for what you give us all. To be honest.
Well, thank you. You have earned your appearance fee. Thank you very much for that. Oh boy! All right, well, friends, thank you so much for listening to the Instant Speed podcast. We will be back next week, but don't forget, you're not losing if you're learning, so keep playing the game. We'll catch you next time on ISP. Bye-bye. Well,